And I was telling you, like, even, I was thinking about even musicians and songs that had suicide in it. Like, if you look in the 80s, there's, like U2, the Police sang about, like, that song, I Can't Stand Losing You. I guess you call it suicide, but
Yeah.
I'm too cool to, they talked about suicide. Radiohead talked about suicide. I mean, Ozzy Osbourne and his songs talked about a lot of 80s artists, 90s artists even talked about suicide. Not a lot talk about it today. And if they do talk about it in their songs today, they call it something else. So you're onto something here when you are talking about this, and how semantics are really, it's like, remember James Taylor, that song Fire and Rain. That song
Mm.
Fire and Rain that was all about his friend Suzanne's suicide. Remember that song?
Yeah.
I love that song. That song
Wait,
was
I thought that
so.
was about a plane crash. I
No,
did not know that it was about a suicide.
I read that it was about his childhood friend, and it was about her suicide. I didn't know. I thought it was about a plane crash too, but it was actually about his
Wow.
friend's suicide. Suzanne Schneff, I think, was her name,
Hmm.
and she committed suicide. Yeah. So I mean, like, there's like music, like, is really interesting across the years. If you look at people, of course, in Fire and Rain, they don't talk about suicide, but I'm talking about, like, other musicians will say the word suicide, like in 80s and 90s, they say the word. Now they don't. It's not as blunt. They don't say it. If they do sing about it, which isn't as often as, I don't think that they did more in the 80s and 90s. They don't say the word. They just,
Yeah.
it's just sort of like an underline. They just talk about it in a different way. I think, like, Billie Eilish had a song
She
lately. I
says
don't even know what.
she says, "I wanna end me." That's how
Right,
she talks about it. And that's just
right.
one example. I mean, like, all of her songs are super, super dark, but that's just the one that jumped out at me right when you said her name is when she
It's
says,
interesting.
"I
Yeah,
wanna end me."
I don't listen to her. I figured you would know the song. Yeah, but I
Yeah.
read that she also is. She doesn't say the word. She just talks about suicide in her song. It's just really
Mhm.
interesting how it's different now.